Hello and welcome back to the second Lisk Community Meetup of this year. Here we will update you about what is happening within the Lisk community, what people are working on, and what the community keeps awake this week. And this week has been sleepless for a lot of community members because of a major thing happening within the Lisk ecosystem. My name is Jurre Magielsen. I'm part of the Moosey team, a blockchain development studio, and part of Lisk Center Utrecht, a blockchain developer hub in community in the Netherlands. Today we are joined by Frank Jia, the man behind Mynt, a submission to the HackOnLisk hackathon, and with Mynt he has won the third prize and a bonus prize from We Are Developers. Quite an honor. So today we will talk about Frank himself, why he created the project, and maybe also get some insights in his personal future. So first, a quick update on the most important thing happening in the Lisk ecosystem, and that is that last Saturday, the Lisk mainnet migrated to a version 3, and with that, a bunch of new features, of which dynamic fees, as well as a new consensus algorithm. So we would like to congratulate the whole Lisk team with a successful migration and look forward to this new era of Lisk in which sidechains also will become and will play a major part, but that's even for the next update. So be aware, the new consensus algorithm changes the way you can vote for delegates. So all votes are reset and everyone has to vote again. All links to relevant blog posts or YouTube videos are shared in the description below, and you can join lisk.chat to chat with the community. So welcome, Frank. Happy to have you here. How are you?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I am doing well here in Vancouver, Canada. How about yourself?
I'm doing good in the Netherlands. So what's the time at your place?
It's 8 a.m. right now, so pretty early for me in the morning, but good to
Perfect.
go for the interview.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, for us it's 5 a.m. in the afternoon. So we don't have much time. So diving in directly, why are you interested in blockchain and how did you end up participating in the HackOnLisk hackathon?
For sure, yeah. I think my journey with blockchain started a couple years back with the big boom of 2017. I was, I think, one of the later entrants, and of course, I lost a bunch of money in altcoins and stuff like that. But me coming in as a developer back in 2017, I really didn't see that platform or developer tooling there. And so I tried to build a lot of things, or I tried to mess around and try and understand the blockchain, but to be honest, I really didn't. This time around, I've always had an eye on blockchain, so I've been monitoring it throughout these past few years. But this time I took another look, primarily actually thanks to HackOnLisk, because I had participated in a lot of dev post hackathons in the past, and I saw HackOnLisk, and I thought I'd just give it a chance again about blockchain development or just diving into blockchain in general. And I found the tooling to be there now. So building with Lisk was a pleasure. The entire ecosystem was a pleasure to work with. I followed the tutorials, and everything worked out super, super well. Um, so that is kind of how I got into blockchain. I would say I'm a traditional Web2 developer slash still a student. But I am quite excited to continue on in the Web3 and the blockchain space, because I do see that there is a lot of potential there. Um, in terms of the exact submission for Mint, Mint is a tokenization-as-a-service platform, meaning that anyone, whether it be a service, a company, or an individual creator, could potentially hit our API to create their own token with a specified maximum amount, sell their token with our integration with Rapid, which provides a fiat on-ramp, as well as burn their token. For example, one of the example use cases is the creator marketplace. I did hear a lot about the oncoming creator economy where people don't need to rely on a record label or, let's say, signing with a big esports team to be able to make a living. But instead, they could rely on their fans. And a huge way of being able to do that is with NFTs, is with creating your own token where you can say, you can buy my, let's say, 10,000 tokens at a pre-sale, and perhaps in the future you can redeem those tokens for a meetup or a private concert. Or I could look at how many tokens you're holding, and if you hold above a certain amount, then you're eligible for these special events or these special offers. So I think tokenization as a whole and giving the ability for anyone to tokenize um, can unlock a lot of use cases that we couldn't have in the traditional Web 2.0 economy. So that was my motivation for creating Mynt. I also really wanted to stress the usability aspect because I think a lot of current platforms, what you had to do, for example, to buy an NFT or to tokenize something, you already had to be onboarded onto the blockchain ecosystem. Let's say with Ethereum, if you wanted to buy an NFT, most marketplaces trade purely in Ethereum. Um, but I wanted to create a fiat on-ramp, and so I integrated with the Rapid service where you could take a credit card, you could take a bank account, and so that really removes the friction of someone who, let's say they're a content creator, they have no idea what blockchain is, but they still want to reap the benefits of blockchain, and I think Lisk is perfect for that because of the things that you guys are building out. In terms of the entire ecosystem, in terms of being able to create your own side chains and interop and seamlessly between the side chain, the main chain, and other side chains. So yeah, quick introduction into my motivation.
Perfect. Thanks for the elaborate introduction. And so far, you said you actually started to get interested in the technical aspects, like a renewed interest. Was Lisk the first blockchain you started looking at, or did you compare?
It was actually. So Lisk was the first one because I saw that first hackathon, HackOnLisk. And so I thought it would be perfect to try something out. So that was my first experience with blockchain. And so what happened afterwards is there was another one, I think, top blockchain startup that integrated a couple other blockchains. So since then, I've kind of looked into Tezos, Ethereum, as well as some layer two solutions such as Polygon. So I've played around with a couple of these blockchains. I wouldn't say I am an expert by any means. I'm still learning and I'm excited to learn all these different things happening in the ecosystem.
It seems you're learning pretty fast, actually. So because another question is, how did you come up with the Mint idea, and how did you know of those concepts? Did you learn them at your university, or did you just yeah? How did you start that journey?
In terms of creating the Mint
The
blockchain,
yeah, the
where
concepts maybe, because like maybe the technology is pretty easy or could be easy, but at the same time, like creating a tokenization as a platform or as a service, that's a whole way of thinking that a lot of people don't have.
right. I would say to give you guys a background on my education, I am majoring and currently still trying to get a Bachelor of Engineering Physics here at University of British Columbia. And to be honest, that is not very heavy in software. We learn a lot of things like quantum physics and heavy advanced math, but nothing really in software. So I would say that a lot of what I know about creating in general, software as a service platforms is through past internships. So I've gone to a local startup, I've gone to SAP Concur, as well as Shopify and then Redfin. And so I think a lot of my knowledge about how to create a platform, how to create a full stack application, ranging from now, I guess, the blockchain to replace the database, to the back end, to the front end in React, that comes from just purely experience. As to how I just created the entire thing, I think the only thing that was purely new to me was the blockchain concepts, as well as just the semantics of the Lisk ecosystem and the semantics of like coding in Lisk. And I would say like I understood the language. As for the core concepts, it was just a lot of learning, a lot of digging through the documentation, and I would like to say that the Lisk tutorials are super, super good for getting anyone up to speed on how to program in Lisk and how to create your own sidechain. It was also a lot of asking for help from the community, and I really do appreciate the div community here at Lisk, just in the Discord for being so helpful. I think I had a lot of questions and they were answered, and of course, that's how I learned.
Thanks. Yeah, that's perfect. So then as you are saying that your study is not specifically in this direction, are you planning to study for a specific domain that you want to major in and that you want to work in, or are you also looking into this area more?
So I think I went into my program with the intention that I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And my program is good in that I learn a little bit of everything. So I do touch upon very, very basic software, but nothing too advanced. And I I would just say that I think it's too late for me to back out and try something else. But my career direction where I want to go with my future is definitely within the realm of software. Now, increasingly so, I mean, I've worked in traditional, I would say, Web 2.0 software as a service companies. But upon looking into the blockchain space, just recently in the past couple of months, I see a whole bunch of potential and I would love to continue expanding in this space. I think we are still quite early in terms of user adoption, in terms of blockchain just being used by the everyday person, whether they even know it or not. So I think this could potentially be a huge part of my future, but at the very least, my future, I think, is in software.
Cool. And so maybe to go on into that direction, like if I remember correctly, you said that Mint was a back-end kind of software that other organizations or could use through an API. Can you tell little bit more about that? How you would see that working?
Right, yeah. So I think Mint, at least what I created for the submission, there were two core, I would say, modules. One was the backend service that it had its own side chain that was responsible for creating these tokens with a specified amount and transferring them and burning them. Of course, within the hackathon submission, because it's such a tight timeline, this was all integrated into one repo. Uh, but the ideal would be that, for example, you would have this backend service, we would run our own side chain, and of course, we would be open to having external nodes besides our company uh, to be able to add some level of decentralization to this entire aspect. But the hope is that, for example, let's say company A could come to our service and they could sign up for an API key or something like that. And it would just be a more intuitive user experience of just having to hit one API using traditional Web 2.0 flows to create a token and transfer them so that people can take advantage of the benefits of having every transaction recorded on an open blockchain without them individually integrating that detail. And so the other part of the module was, or the other part of the submission was essentially an example, let's say, company that would be able to use this backend service. So currently, I guess in traditional fiat payments, we have something like Stripe, where Stripe can take all the payments. They're responsible for handling all the payment transactions, for integrating with the different payment providers. Of course, this concept is a bit different in the blockchain space, but let's imagine that backend service that manages all the blockchain infrastructure to be like sort of a Stripe backend service for interacting with the blockchain and for creating this new value. But one example service, let's say the creator marketplace that I created for Mint, we would be able to hook up into this service. We would enable then a more user-friendly interface on top of the core tokenization aspect so that creators can come into the platform without understanding how to hold, let's say, crypto or um, even having crypto because we integrate directly with fiat gateways. They can come in to fund their own music or to fund their own content, their streams, whatever. They can create their own token, sell them at a specified amount, and have that paid directly into their bank account. Because I think as much as I think that things like stable coins will start to replace our payment workflows. A lot of what we do day to day relies on fiat. So the ability for someone, a creator, to be able to fund their everyday living just by creating their own token and to be able to give awards to their fans, whether it be a private meetup or let's say a concert or something like that, that has tangible value to the creators, and it doesn't require them to dig hours into how blockchain works to be able to start doing something like that. So I think one aspect of my submission was that ability to easily create and transact in tokens, but another was the ability for anyone, whether they knew about blockchain technology or not, to be able to onboard onto the ecosystem. And I think we're at a pretty critical transition point where there are a ton of benefits to come from decentralization and tokenization, but the majority of users do not yet understand how this space works. And so the challenge is to gradually onboard them, where you can have some workflows that are slightly more centralized and that more resemble Web 2 flows than Web 3 flows, but then start to introduce aspects of what a decentralized economy would look like, or what an economy more integrated with blockchain would look like. And that would, I guess, slowly migrate us from a world that is more centralized to a world that relies more on decentralized technologies.
And do you see how would you see that gradual inflow of people that are outside the blockchain space right now? Because we have a lot of financially incentivized people that are speculating, but the group you are talking about is much more the majority of people who would like to use services in the future. How do you see that?
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's $1 million question that a lot of us are trying to solve right now. I am super, super excited to kind of be in this space at this sort of time. Um, I am currently working on a few things that target that specific area, and so I'll give my thoughts, but I don't know if they're the right thoughts because I think this is something that hasn't been yet worked out. We've already seen something similar to this. I would say that I came initially, like I said, in 2017 as a speculator. I bought Bitcoin and Lisk and Ethereum and all that just to speculate and hopefully make some money, right? But the user interface is ultimately it's about usability. And back in 2017, I think I remember having to set up my Ether wallet, and it was like a printout of a paper of my 12 words that I had to remember and stash in a box somewhere. Um, so that usability aspect in 2017 was just not there. But now, with the analog of that, like we have MetaMask for Ethereum, we have a lot more mobile wallets, even though they're not 100% safe, right? But they are accessible to the everyday consumer who isn't going to perhaps go and buy a Trezor or a hardware wallet. So I think improving on the usability aspect, and that was really integrated within the application for Mynt, was the ability for someone to come in with no knowledge of blockchain technology. And so if we can integrate directly and give consumers and users the workflow that they already know and understand, then there is no friction for them to switch onto something that is tokenization or the blockchain on the back end. But I understand that a lot of benefit to decentralization is the ability for everyone to own their own finances and to own their own wallets and their own tokens, right? And so that really cannot happen if we have a centralized service that technically just manages your tokens for you, because in that case, it could be just replaced by some sort of database in the traditional Web 2.0 flow. But the trick, I think, is to slowly migrate users. For example, we can allow users to export their wallet. So if they want to detach from the centralized system, they can and start operating in a more decentralized manner. I think small steps like that is what will enable people to gradually switch over to a more decentralized workflow where they can handle and have ownership over their own assets. Um, that is, of course, to, I believe, the early majority. A lot of the early adopters are very technical people who have no problem switching over their workflows, for example, handling their own private keys and handling their own passphrases and having a hardware wallet. But let's say for the people who are currently somewhat in tech, let's say they're young, they're very they understand modern tech workflows, they have smartphones and multiple devices. they might not be the type to even look into blockchain or to understand the fundamentals of blockchain. So I think the biggest barrier to adoption right now is to entice those groups of users to slowly switch over to blockchain-based workflows, and then to slowly introduce features that allow them to take ownership of their assets and to really fully embody the concepts of decentralization.
Thanks. And because we're kind of on a tight schedule, I just go on.
Yeah.
What are your next plans? What are you working on right now? Are you working on something?
Yeah. So within the Lisk ecosystem, I am still toying around with different ideas. I'm excited for I guess the emergence of NFTs on Lisk and the ability to transfer them back and forth between side chains and as well as the main chain. I think there's a lot of promise there because let's say company A stands up a blockchain, and that might be slightly centralized, right? Let's say it's some sort of NFT marketplace, where they can trade NFTs back and forth on their own side chain. Or perhaps it's a private economy for loyalty tokens. Um, and I think the concept of decentralization initially, and the promise was that, is that even though a company goes out of business, some sort of value can still be gained. It's not like traditional, let's say, loyalty points, where if a company goes into bankruptcy, then those loyalty points don't have any worth or value, right? So I think where the power comes from the oncoming Lisk features is that, let's say a company has credit or they have NFTs, or it's like, let's take the example of the NFT marketplace. If that company hosting the server goes out of business, then by the interoperability of what Lisk is proposing, then we can transition on to another marketplace, or another marketplace might offer the ability for you to transfer your assets from that side chain to another side chain. So I think that is very powerful. I haven't yet I haven't yet set on an idea that I want to build out concretely, but I'm pretty active in this space in terms of ideation. In terms of some of the other projects I am considering, it is also along the lines of being able to offer easy tokenization. I am, I think, in a learning stage where I'm trying to play with a lot of blockchain platforms and try and understand their pros and cons. Because I think the future of blockchain and the future of decentralization by nature is to have a decentralized network of blockchains, each with their own pros and cons. And so enabling interoperability between all of them is key. But I am currently in a stage where I'm exploring a lot of different just side projects and a lot of different blockchains to understand what blockchain can really shine when I have a specific use case. And I think from that understanding, I'm able to better pick a project and know the technologies that I should be working with. Because let's say in a Web 2.0 world, right, we have all these different databases and they're all good for different things. So none of them are necessarily better than the other. So I see a similar case with blockchains. And so right now I'm in that learning stage where I'm trying to figure everything out.
Yeah, that's a perfect thing I think to do, especially yeah. I think essentially it's for everybody in the space right now still. Also because the space is still developing, and we don't know yet what will be the best technology for which use case. What kind of NFT applications are you really excited about? It's a question from Andro, I know.
Yeah. What kind of applications to NFTs? I was going back and forth with a friend on some of the ideas of what NFTs could entail. I think there's a couple of things. One is sort of addressed by my submission, is that concept of the creator economy. I think it really allows creators to be able to fund their work and to make a living without having to sign with a big record label, to be able to leverage their fans, to be able to fund their music, whether or art or streaming or whatnot. But I think that was essentially the first stage of this NFT movement. We saw a lot of NFT art and a lot of NFT music. I also see a future in the ability for NFTs to represent, let's say, a ticket or admission to some sort of exclusive event. Um, with the pandemic, I think a lot of shopping has gone online, but also a lot of retailers have acknowledged the importance of a physical experience. And I think location-based NFTs, for example, if you're at this store during this specific time, then you're entitled to this NFT that you can hold to, I suppose, demonstrate your loyalty or in the future exchange for something. Or, for example, let's say on the concept of loyalty coins, if you hold a certain number of loyalty coins, maybe you're eligible to purchase an NFT that gives you exclusive access to, let's say, a restaurant on this specific date for their special catering event, or the ability to redeem an NFT for like a very exclusive item or like a limited edition bakery treat or something like that. I think um, the application of NFTs goes beyond art and music. There's a lot of use cases, I believe, in streaming or not streaming, sorry, in loyalty points in the future of in person as well as e-commerce. Um, so I think we're just at the beginning of what NFTs can entail. At the beginning, I had the belief that NFTs were just sort of a digital representation of something that would either be like, let's say, a physical certificate of authenticity, but I have gone 180 on that in terms of like, sure, maybe NFTs can't fully replace traditional workflows, but they can enable future value adds that we haven't even seen before.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I think it's time to wrap up.
yeah,
Yeah, thank you very much for the talk. Really inspiring. And if you're like the journey you're in, the things you think about already trigger a lot of things with me that I'm looking forward to a project from your side in the future. So I hope you will come back with a project on Lisk somewhere, maybe the next HackOnLisk hackathon. You never know.
yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. So, yeah, for everybody out there, if you're considering building a blockchain application, there's a new HackOnLisk hackathon coming with even bigger prizes. It has to be yet announced. Or if you want to help, get help from the community, for example, Frank can probably tell you all about it. Just join list.chat because that's the place to go. Thanks, Frank, for being our guest. I hope to get an update on one of your projects in the future, and I'm really looking forward to to the next phase of the Lisk ecosystem. And maybe also we add some notes in the description, also a blog post about interoperability, a new blog post from Lisk about cross-chain updates, and the aftermovie for the mainnet launch. So make sure if you haven't seen it, join it, check it out, and see you in 2 weeks during our next community meetup. Thanks, Frank.
Thank you guys.
Have
Take
a good
care.
day.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.